Alrighty, friends, let's do round 2 of the review. This is just the back page, and I'm just going to keep on rolling. We're looking at solving the equation. These are inequalities. So when you go to take the test, you want to remember that if there's 2 bars, you're going to need to do 2 setups and get 2 answers. So keep in mind that here we have like the absolute value of something equals 14. So whatever's in here can either be plus or minus 14. So I'm going to take what's inside, which you can never ever change, set it equal to negative 14, and then I'm going to set it equal to positive 14. Okay, then I'm going to just solve each one. So here I'll add 4. I'm going to get 3d equals negative 10. And when I divide that by 3, my first answer is going to be that d equals negative 10/3. And I'm just going to leave it like that because I don't need to do the decimal, and it's actually cleaner to just leave it. Here the math is going to be the same in the second option. So I have that 3d equals 18. So when I divide that by 3, I get a 6. So this one was this was just equal to. So I just straight up got 2 answers. This thing I'm not going to worry about, but I do want you to think about how to graph the inequalities, meaning 14 and 15, because that's something that you're going to have to demonstrate an understanding of. So these are the 2 that are the inequalities where they either turn into and or problems. And so you have to kind of think about, well, you don't have to, but what I was suggesting before is you kind of think about like a fence. So here's you. This one has the fence at 30 away from you, which would put another fence over here that we'd think of as negative 30. And then this symbol is less than. My dog is super annoying. She's clawing at me. Penny, go away. So I lost my train of thought. This is less than, and so it's saying the distance is less than. So you're going to have to stay in between there. That's the farthest you can go. Your distance has to be less than or equal to that 30. So that means that your x is in between. So I take everything that's in the bars, which you never ever change, and you keep it in between the 30 that they gave you. You copy the sign, and then you put a negative 30. So you're just saying I'm staying within that distance, less than 30 away. And now you're going to go through and just solve. So you add 5 on each piece and end up with negative 25. And then you have an x in the middle. And then here you actually end up with 35. And I want you to know how to graph it. I don't care where you put negative 25, but I want to see that it's closed in because of this. This will be closed in as well and is located at 35. So you want to show the numbers. You want to show if it's open or closed, and then you want to show that shading in between. Now, unlike that less than problem, the next one has a greater than symbol. It's still absolute value. It's still the distance. So now if this is you standing around up here, now it's talking about having a fence 2 away. So 2, and then on the other side, negative 2. And your distance has to be greater. So instead of being on the inside of it, you're actually going to end up being out here. And if you remember from when we first learned that, that's going to be arrows going out like the oars on a boat, making this an or problem. So to get over here, you're going to take what's in the bars, which you never ever change, and you need it to be greater than 2, which is always going to be like the original problem, just without the bars. Or now to get this left piece over here, you still use what's in the bars that you can never ever change. You flip the symbol because you had 1 pointing that way, you'll need 1 pointing that way. And then instead of a 2, you're using the negative 2. Now you have your equations, or your inequalities, I should say, and you're going to go ahead and solve those. So taking away 4, I get this. Be careful with that one. And then I'm dividing by 3. So my first or is located here. Or the other option, I'm looking for the other arrow, is going to be whatever I get when I go over here. So 3y greater than negative 2, 2 minus 4. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So the other option is that y is greater than negative 2/3. Now, that's not ideal because it's negatives and it's fractions and it can be confusing. So when I think about graphing that, I'd have a negative 2, keeping in mind that this is not or equal to, so it's going to be open, and then I need to go less than for this left piece. Even though negative 2/3 is still negative, it is farther up the number line than negative 2. That also is going to get an open circle because this one is not or equal to, and then it's going to go greater than that. It's going to be out. So you end up with the two arrows going out, like we talked about up here, rather than being in between, like we talked about in the previous problem. So those are two key things that you really have to kind of practice. And if that's an area of confusion, then go ahead and practice problems just like that so that you feel prepared. It's absolutely positively going to happen to you on Friday. Okay. I'm just reading this next problem. Okay, so what am I doing? I like to know what I'm doing. It says write and solve an equation. So I already know this is not going to be a greater than or less than. And it says to find the number of months. So we're going to let our unknown be m for the number of months. Okay, so what are we going to need in this one? To set up a wireless network for internet access at home, you buy a router for $75. The fee for the service is $18 per month. So that's going to mean times the number of months. Okay. And then the total, that's my total, is going to be 183. And since it says equation, I know I need an equal sign. So my equation is for my cost. Okay. So I'm going to have the $75 that I have to pay just to get the router, plus I'm going to be paying $18 per month. So for every month, that's $18 more, and the total's 183. So if I'm going to solve that, I have 75 plus 18m equals 183. I take away my 75. I have 18m equals, what's that going to be? Here's me using my calculator because it's late and I'm brain dead. And I'm not really good at mental math, which is weird because I'm a math teacher. So I'm at 108. Then I'm going to divide that by 18 to get the m alone. And that turns out to be 6, keeping in mind that I'm solving for m, which was the number of months. Okay, you're going to love me for 17 because you don't have to do it because we're not doing this right now. Done. Posters. You already know there's a poster problem because I keep telling you there's a poster problem. So you want to decorate the gym wall with 9 senior posters for wrestling so that they are spaced evenly. You also want the space on the left and right to be 5 times the space between. So think about how you would do that. If the spaces are x, then 5 times that is going to be 5x. What?
You didn't hear this?
The beeping?
Huh?
You mean the beeping?
No, just the sound.
I don't care.
Oh, all right.
We're discussing whether or not the air fryer is going to make too much noise for my video. So now you guys can listen to the air fryer. Okay. The wall is 24 feet wide. So that's my total. And the posters are 2 feet wide. So we've done this a whole bazillion times. How many are there? 9 senior posters. Holy moly. I'm going to have to draw 9 posters. Okay. Let me do that. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because it says to draw, so I'm going to go ahead and draw. and then write and solve. Okay. So first of all, it says that each poster is 2 feet wide. So these are all 2s. It says they're evenly spaced with some mystery spacing. So I'm calling that X because that's what we love to call unknowns in mathematics land. And then it says that and the space at the left and right of the posters is going to be 5 times the one between. So on the end is 5x, and on this end is 5x. And keep in mind, the entire thing is, what did they say, 24 long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make my equation. So let's add up the numbers. I have 9 posters that are 2 each. So can we all agree that that's going to be 18? And then I have 5x's here plus 1. So I'm going to go 5x, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plus those 5. So add those up or collect those like terms however you want. You need this 5x at the end and that one on the other end, and all of these in between. Okay, and then they have to add up to the wall, which is 24 wide. Okay, so let's start by taking away the 18 because we're trying to solve for x. And so now I have 18x equals 6. And then be a little bit careful. If you divide by 18, you don't get 3. You kind of want to get 3, but you actually get 1/3. So they are 1/3 feet apart. Now, if you want to get fancy and be like, oh, that's 4 inches, that's fine with me. If you don't feel like getting fancy and saying that, then you leave it. So know how to do a problem like the poster problems because that's coming up on everything. Okay, and then let's go ahead and do these conversions and then we can finally be done with this worksheet. You can know everything in the whole universe. All right, I'm going to start with whatever they tell me to start with. And they said to start with 1.5 tons. So 1.5 tons. I don't really know a lot about tons. I just know that it's really heavy. But they tell me what I need to know. They know I need to know this business. 1 ton will change it to 2,000 pounds. So if I like to think of this as being over 1, then I'm going to set up my little tumblers so they can all come crashing down. But in order for the tons to cancel out, since they're on the top of my original statement, I'm going to need the tons part of my conversion on the bottom. So 1 ton goes on the bottom, 2,000 pounds goes on the tops. This tons cancels this, just the units cancel out. But now I'm at pounds, and I need to be at ounces. That's what I'm trying to get to. So they gave me another conversion. So my next conversion, I currently have pounds on the top, so I'm going to need to put the 1 pound on the bottom from my conversion so that the pounds can cancel. And that leaves me with the 16 ounces on the top. And I'm actually going to be done with my converting because I have the ounces, which is what I'm trying to get. So I'm going to take the numbers on the top, 1.5 times 2,000 times 16. And I get as the top value 48,000. But in this case, the bottom numbers are all ones. So 1 times 1 times 1 is just 1. 48,000 over 1 is still 48,000. And this has now been converted into ounces. So if something weighs 1.5 tons, then it weighs 48,000 ounces. Okay, 20. 44 feet per second is kind of what I need. When I'm doing a word problem, I always look for what I really need to focus on. Okay, a ball is thrown, who cares? How fast? 44 feet per second. So that's my starting point. 44 feet per 1 second. What is the speed in miles per hour? Miles per hour. So I need to change both things. I need to change my feet into miles, not my actual feet, and then seconds into hours. So it doesn't matter which thing you change first. It makes no difference. I think in class we changed the distance first, so just for funsies, I'll change the time first. So if I'm going to change the time first, I have 44 feet per 1 second. Now I need to move towards hours. So let me take a baby step. Let me go to minutes. If the seconds are on the bottom, then it'll need to go onto the top in order to cancel. And I'm going to take that baby step towards minutes. You know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. The unit seconds cancels. But now I have feet per minute. So I still got to keep going. I'm working on time. If the minutes are on the bottom and I want them to cancel out, I'm going to put the minutes on the top. And the thing I'm trying to get to is hours. So I need to have hours on the bottom. And then the conversion between minutes and hours, as you know, is that it's 60 minutes per 1 hour. So the minutes on the bottom cancel the minutes on the top, and I actually am done with the per hour part because I have the hours on the bottom. The problem is my distance way back here is still in feet. So I'm kind of going to ignore the two conversions that I put up there for time because those are done. And I'm going to convert this feet into miles. And they wrote the conversion factor for me right here. But since the beginning of my problem has feet on the top, I'm going to need to put the feet part of the conversion on the bottom and the mile part on top. So my 5,280 has to go on the bottom. That way these feet on top cancel these feet on the bottom. And I finally have miles per hour. So I'm going to deal with the number part. I'm going to take the entire top, 44 times 60 times 60 times 1 if it makes you happy. But ultimately, that won't change the value. So that's giving me 158,400 over. And now I'm going to do the bottom. But the bottom is 1 times 1 times 1 times 5280, which is 5280. So I take that top number divided by the bottom, and my final answer comes out to be a 30, keeping in mind that that is feet, excuse me, not feet, sorry. That is miles per hour. So I had to convert two things, the distance and the time, which is why that was kind of a grind. All right, the last one, grand finale. The formula for the area of a triangle is A equals 1/2 base times height. It says solve the equation for H. We talked about this one last. This was the last thing we learned. What that means is to get the H part alone, move everything else out of there. And then use it to find, we'll worry about that later. We'll worry about this afterwards. So if I'm trying to get H alone, I'm looking at what's attached to it, which is this B and this half. You can get rid of the half or the B first. It doesn't make any difference. Let's say we wanted to get rid of the half first. To get rid of a 1 over 2, we multiply by 2 over 1. And in the world of mathematics, you have to be fair to both sides, do the samesies. So this 2 over 1 cancels with the 1 over 2, and I'm one step closer to having H alone, and over here I have 2A. I don't need to write it over 1 because that doesn't have any mathematical difference or meaning. Still trying to get H alone. Now it's multiplied by B, so to get rid of multiplication, I divide, because remember, solving for a variable, like solving for H, doesn't actually mean you're going to come up with a number. It just means you're getting the H alone. So the equation they want is H equals 2 times A all over B. Then they're asking you to use that equation. And they're saying, what if the area or the A value is 54? So I'm plugging that in where there used to be an A, and the base is 4. So I'm putting that in where there used to be a B. So 2 times 54, dividing my answer by 4, I'm getting 27. And the units they're using are feet. And since it's height, that's not going to be squared because it's just a height. It's not the area. So that's a lot of stuff. I actually was looking at the answer key that is posted, and it's a little bit confusing to me because number 18 is totally different. So this is the one that you'd want to use for your help, because if you use the answer key online, it's talking about volleyball, which is not on here. So actually, it's this guy. So this poster problem is just not on the older version, I guess. So I really want to make sure that you do that problem and see how to do it, because that is something you need to know how to do for your test. So there you go. Hope that helps. See ya.